Hey, thanks for having us. I'm Ryan Wilhelm. I'm Assistant Director in Career Coaching with Buckeye Careers. And Anna, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Yes, I'm Ana Berrios, and I'm a career coach with Buckeye Careers.
Yes. And thank you for having us. Today, we're going to just talk about how to create a resume from a CV. We're going to split it up a little bit today. This is unique. We haven't done this before. So I wanted to hear kind of some of Anna's insight and but still kind of take part in it. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to do the first little bit, just focusing on kind of an overall strategy. And then Anna's going to take over and go through specifics on the resume, right? And so if you've got questions as we go through, you feel free to throw them in the chat. We try to get them as we go, but we might have to wait till the end for them as well. So, but thank you for having us. I'm going to turn off my camera. I find it super distracting when I'm presenting, so I'm going to stop my video and pull up my presentation. So, give me 1 second here. Okay, so today we're just going to talk about resumes. I want to talk about our office really quick. So we can help you with lots of things, right? So our career coaching area with things like resumes, cover letters, CVs, interviewing skills. If you're thinking about more graduate school, we can help with that as well. I don't know how many of you are, but we can help with that. We can help with things connected to career exploration, right? So if you're not sure what you want to do when you're done, or maybe you're just in between, we can help with the exploration part of looking at, what are your interests, what are your values, maybe what are the challenges you want to solve in the world, that piece. Or maybe it's just career decision making. Maybe you're deciding between academia and industry and you want to explore that. We can help with that piece for sure. And then career coaching, right? So often stuff gets in the way. You figure out how to get there. You figure out what you want to do, but something's there. You keep bumping into a barrier, and we want to help you get through that, around that, explore that, cope with it, process it, right? So things like imposter syndrome, fear of failure, self-doubt, things like that are kind of get in the way. We're not going to ignore that piece. We will, chat about it. And hopefully get you to your goals. Other things Buckeye Careers does is, so we operate and organize the university-wide job posting board, which is Handshake. Also, that is where you would schedule your appointments with us as well. And we also have created, Anna did a fantastic job creating Buckeye on Pace, which is a series of training modules that you can get to at any time off of our site. This week for us is Career Week, and so that means a whole bunch. So we have a whole bunch of events that you can find on Handshake. Also, two big events, right? So tomorrow is our university-wide career fair, right? So anybody can go to it, career and internship fair. So if you're looking for either of those, certainly something to check out. And then the in virtual Handshake career fair is September 14th from 2 to 6. So great question in the chat. Do you get appointments after graduation? You do. So you get 3 appointments up to 6 months after you graduate. So your one thing I should mention, so your Ohio State is decentralized. So you, depending on your major, probably have a career services office connected to your college. That just depends on kind of what they serve, who they serve, and who they meet with and what they do, right? And so sometimes they will see you forever beyond graduation. Sometimes they'll see you for a year. Sometimes they'll see you for 6 months. Sometimes they'll see you for things connected to exploration, but usually that's more our wheelhouse, and they'll help more with the career services type things like resumes, cover letters, those kind of things. Cool. Again, this event tomorrow, hopefully we'll see you there. It's from 1 to 5 in the Union. So today I'm just going to go over the overall tips and just some general strategies around kind of building your resume from your CV. When we talk about just in general using a resume versus a CV, we want to kind of the first thing is connect with that language, right? And so typically a resume, we're going to use that when we are applying in industry. and we'll use a CV when we're applying in academia. But it gets a little bit messier than that. Sometimes you can use a CV when you're applying to industry. If everyone hiring you is a PhD, if you're being hired for a a research focused area, sometimes they will just say send over your CV, right? And so, but typically you want to use a resume there, and typically you would use a resume in you'd use a CV in academia, but sometimes you would, again, use a resume, maybe if it's for a leadership position and not like a tenure track faculty position. So it gets a little messy. There's some gray areas there, but typically we would suggest using a resume in industry. Just in general, some style tips. So we would suggest you write your own resume, avoid templates, avoid resume generators. What we find is when you create it in a resume generator, number one, it's really hard to edit. It doesn't, throws it into these boxes that make it very hard to edit it. And number two, usually, depending on the size of the place that you're applying to, an ATS system or computer algorithm system will look at your resume first. Often those resume templates, those resume generators will create a system or a situation where it's tougher for that computer to read. We want to make it as easy as possible. So we want you to try to keep it simple, use a readable font. Best fonts are typically Times New Roman, Arial, Garamond, something like that. Just be consistent there. Make sure you proofread everything. Make sure your grammar and punctuation are correct. We're happy to look over your resume. I would definitely suggest someone in your field look over it as well. It's tough to say, I've got great attention to detail, and then you've got, a period at the end of one bullet and now a period at the end of the other bullet, that kind of thing. So typically 10 to 11 point font for this. We aim for 1 or 2 pages. This really depends on the industry, right? So probably for everyone on this call, everyone on this workshop, you can go to 2 pages. Sometimes, for consulting and things like that, they're going to still want you to stick to 1 page. That makes it a little bit tough, but we have to do what they ask for. So if you do go to 2 pages, just some general rules. Try to put your name on the second page somewhere. Don't split your experiences. So if you're talking about an experience, don't chop it in half and then go to the next experience. And then try to get to at least a page and a half. We don't just want a page and then just a few lines on the next page. Some general tips about the construction and content, right? So when we think about the structure flow of the resume, look up in that picture in the corner, right? So we want some sort of balance between the white space and filled space, right? And so it doesn't matter exactly how you do it. You can do your own format, but something along these lines where it doesn't read like a outline, right? So like you're taking notes for a paper or a test or something like that, right? But also doesn't read like that paper, right? It's not totally full. We always want to remember they're going to read through it in 8 to 10 seconds, right? So we want to think about putting the easy to get to information in the best places, right? So they're going to read it from top to bottom and left to right. So where on your CV, you might put the dates on the left, you're probably not going to put the dates on the left on your resume, because we want the titles and the places you worked on the left, because we know that's going to be read first. So typically don't use pictures, don't use color, those kind of things, right? We don't want to hide things with creativity. When we're thinking about your resume, a big shift, certainly I would suggest when you're thinking about a CV to think about ways you can target it, but on your resume, it's going to be very, very targeted, right? I would pretend, and pretend's a keyword here, I would not start every time from scratch, but I would pretend like you're starting from scratch. That's really helpful in terms of making sure it's targeted, making sure your resume stands out. So what are employers looking for? You want to start there, right? So when you're putting together a resume, the first step that I would suggest is to determine the job target. Think about what's needed for that target position. What are they looking for? And try to think like the person who will be receiving your resume. So let's imagine you were applying for consulting. You might do your resume in a different order, right? Because of what they're looking for. So you want to be thinking about kind of what they're looking for. So let's imagine you're applying for advising. You're applying to work in our office at Buckeye Careers. You're applying to do research, right? All of these things are going to be slightly different. So you want to think about it through that lens. When we think about you applying to anything, we want to think about you'll typically be accepted, hired, asked to join for 3 things, right? So do you have the skills, do you have the passion, and do you have the fit to do the work, right? Skills is, can you do the job? Passion is, will you do the job? And fit are you going to fit with our mission, our vision, those kind of things, right? You're going to fit with our team. While passion and fit can come out in a resume, mostly you're going to focus on skills, and you're going to focus on 2 areas of skills, both your specific and general skills. So specific skills is going to be specifically what they're looking for in this role. General skills are going to be what anyone looks for. Sometimes you call them soft skills, sometimes we call them power skills, sometimes we call them transferable skills. It doesn't really matter what you call it, but it's more of those general skills that can be used on almost any job. So to jump into the specific skills, excuse me, when you're applying for a job, my first step would be, again, make sure you target, you decide what what you're applying for. Try to think like what they're looking for, and typically they're going to give you a blueprint, and that blueprint is going to be the job posting. The job posting is often going to have the requirements for that job, preferred qualifications, and job duties. What I would suggest doing is making 2 columns. Column A, you're going to write down all the stuff that they're looking for. Column B is you, and you're thinking about, how do I check off these boxes, right? I would probably make a huge Google sheet and call it like Jobs 2023, or sorry, Google Sheets document, call it Jobs 2023, and then label each sheet the job you're applying for and the date. And then column A, you're copy and pasting this stuff, requirements, preferred qualifications, job duties. Again, they might not have that all, might be labeled something different. When we're looking at requirements, one of the biggest things we want to hit home is don't not apply for a job because you don't check off all the requirements. What often happens is that there's 2 layers of requirements, right? So we might have a one layer that is, this really concrete thing that you absolutely must have. And then we might have another layer that is, they listed in requirements, but it's not actually a requirement. So I like to use the example of if you were applying to be a lifeguard, right? And so I want you to put in the chat really quick, what are some skills that we need every single lifeguard to have? CPR, absolutely. Be able to swim. Yeah, you guys nailed it. So so those are concrete ones, right? And those have to be in there. There's 52 people on the call, 53 people on the call. If we all applied for a job, none of us could swim. All applied to be a lifeguard, none of us could swim. They can't hire us, right? They just can't do it. But if we could all swim and we all knew CPR, and in the same requirement section, they say you need 3 years of experience, and none of us had 3 years of experience, they can still hire us, right? Even if we had 1 year of experience, right? So that's okay, right? They can train us up, we'll get more experience, right? They're probably not going to say, okay, we're not hiring anybody. So as you're going through these job postings, just make sure you're not taking yourself out for some of those things that might be a little bit loose and aren't actual requirements. Preferred qualifications, that's just it. They would love for you to have the skill. They don't expect everyone to have that quite yet. Job duties, that's just what you'll do on the job. And again, this can be an entire projection. If you're applying to something like consulting or, in that world, maybe you've never done that specific work before, but you're going to want to tailor your resume to show off skills that can do that work, right? I like to think about, if you're applying for a management position, right? And maybe you've never been a manager before, you can pull back and think about who are your favorite professors, supervisors, PIs, advisors, right? What are their traits? And you can think about, how can I depict those traits on the resume? Maybe I can't show that I have management experience quite yet, but I can show that that I'm a great communicator and have great attention to detail and things like that. So again, I would create a chart. This will help with a lot of things, right? So it's going to help with the job you're applying for now. It's going to help with the interview for that job, because you will have already written down all the things that show that you will match up with this role. But it will also help with interviewing down. It would also help with the next job, right? And so when you will already have written down all those things in column 2, and you can essentially just copy and paste them and try to, puzzle them into whatever they're looking for in the next job. This is really helpful so that you're not just sending the same resume again and again and again out, and you're making yourself stand out. So just an example here, this is somebody who was applying for dental hygiene, right? And so they had all these things on the left here that they were looking for. And so they leveraged their clinical skills that they gained from their dental hygiene experience. That's kind of a one-to-one kind of thing. But we also want to remember these general skills, right? And so general skills can be really gained from anywhere, volunteering, internships, jobs, classes, certainly your research. I've seen so many PhDs, so many master's students who don't even have their dissertation on their resume. And, that's, something we definitely want you to have on there. Even if you're not going to be diving into similar questions, you can show bits and pieces of your research. You can show soft skills through there, all those things, right? So we don't want to ignore those pieces. If you're thinking about soft skills, there's a great this website here, right? So the Exploration website, what can I do with a major, is actually really helpful for graduate students because it has a good list based on the different majors of transferable skills that you're gaining. You'll have to, as a grad student, there's not a one-to-one, so you'll have to kind of modify and think about, okay, well, what major do I think most aligns with my graduate program? But there's really, really good language in there to think about. I often find that graduate students get so narrowly focused on their research or their clinical experiences that they forget that they're gaining all these other pieces. So a big thing here, right? So National Association of Colleges and Employers did a study in 2022. They asked over 100 employers, what are the what are the qualities that you're looking for in a candidate? And these were them, right? And so a lot of times people will say, I don't believe that, we really need transferable skills, right? Or that they're looking for transferable skills. This is evidence that they are. So you're gaining problem solving skills from a lot of different ways, right? You're gaining analytical skills, right? Ability to work on a team. Sometimes, if you took a class and you're like, oh, another, group project, this is why you're doing that, right? Communication skills, both written and verbal, both of those are really important. And then throughout, right? And so this is just a really good list to be thinking about. Often this is, bullet number 4 or 5 when you're explaining things, right? Because they're so you're focusing on more of the specifics in your first bullets, and then these are things that you're adding in, making sure you're highlighting. So just another example here using dental hygiene, right? And so here we're thinking about it through the lens of those soft skills, right? And so we've talked about how that clinical experience goes, but that experience as a waitress, right? So how, someone's applying to go do dental hygiene, how can they utilize those experiences where maybe they don't feel like it's necessarily a one-to-one, but it's really useful to kind of show off those skills. So overall, I often like to think about it like this when I'm working with a PhD or a postdoc, and they're thinking about how am I going to take my CV from this 4 or 5 page, 12-page document down to a 2-page document, right? So we have all these skills that we really, really are excited about. We worked really hard to gain them, but we won't always use them, right? And so often what we'll do is maybe job A cares about 1, 2, and 3. Skills 4, 5, and 6 don't go away. Maybe we just minimize them on the resume now. Maybe we take them off completely. It's really kind of up to how much space we have, but we're going to focus on that for this particular job. Now, job B might care about skills 1, 4, and 5. And so we're going to shift that, right? We'll shift, I'll get into kind of all of this, but we'll focus on those, and the other ones might not go away, but we're going to create the resume in a way that targets those particular skills. And then job C might care about these skills in general, right? And so it's really just about thinking through that lens for that particular job. So finally, for me, what I would suggest is before you start, focus on what they're seeking, create those grids, job posting on one side, and then focus on what you're offering that can kind of check off those boxes. Cool. Anna, I will let you take it away.
Okay, thank you so much. Question for you, Crystal, actually. I have samples. Do I email them to you and then you email them to everyone, or is it okay for me to just download them in the chat so that people can just save them in their own computers? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, Anna, we can hear you.
Yeah, my question is, do I email the the documents to you, Crystal or Jeremy, and then you email them to everybody else? Or do I just download them in the chat?
If you can download them in the chat, great. But if not, that's okay to send them or email them to us afterwards and we can share out. If you guys
Okay,
share the list of attendees with us, we can send it to everybody as well. And then we can also send it to anybody who registered through the website or Handshake.
okay, fantastic. Okay, thank you, Jeremy.
No problem.
All right. Okay, let me go ahead and share my screen. I wanted to show you how to convert, right, the Vita into a resume. And the first thing I'm going to do is just show you a typical Vita. This is a research Vita. Going in a lot of detail here, but look at the differences, okay? Identifying information, we go with your name, right? In a Vita, we put the address of the university. Then comes your education, right? If you're in a master's degree or PhD. Then comes your research experience. You can see your research interest, those bullet points that describe your research experience, your technical skills that connects with your research. You see grants, awards, your publications, your conferences, right? Your presentations, all with the style of your profession, right? And then you switch and you go to the teaching experience, same, right? Hopefully all of you are aware of these. Industry experience comes university service, additional skills, honors, award, affiliations, and then your references. That's a Vita, that's an 8-page Vita. And now you may be thinking, okay, how do I narrow this down in a couple of pages? So I'm gonna be going back and forward, and please ask me questions about this one. If we have time, I wanted to show you one that is not research oriented, more teaching oriented in the field of linguistics, so that you can see two of them, okay? Now, this is the resume from the same Vita. And by the way, it's a real Vita, okay? So I respected that. Look at how we started. We go with the name, right? And in one line, we just use your address, and we don't have to include all your address. It's just location, it's just the city and the state, your email, your cell, and at all possible, your LinkedIn account. And you can go ahead and hyperlink it. If you know how to do this one, link, right? And you hyperlink it. After, and this is where you have to, again, look at what Ryan mentioned, right? You have to tailor your resume to the position. If they want somebody with a PhD, then your education goes next, okay? But if they are looking for somebody maybe with a master's degree or with graduate education, right? Or maybe you are not thinking about finishing your PhD, I don't know, right? It depends on your situation. But if they are not looking for a PhD, then your education will go at the end, okay? And we don't need, of course, to know what your dissertation was all about, because that's too academia, right? That's too much of a Vita. On a resume, it's just the name of the university, always location. In this case, when will you be graduating? And then this person has a master's and a bachelor's from the same university in California. We go in reverse chronological order, and we go with your most recent education first and go backwards. So again, you need to tailor things to your employer. In this case, this research experience is the same research experience from the Vita. It's the same one, okay? But we are not going to include research interest. That's too academia, okay? That's too academia. And because this is industry, we have to show them that, of course, you have the skills needed for that position. Again, I'm not, you know, a chemistry person, but the most important piece when you're writing a resume and when you're writing a vita is you always start with a verb, ideally the same verb from the position that you're applying for, plus what you did, plus outcomes. That's the secret, okay? They're gonna call you for an interview if they can see what your research is all about and what is the outcome, what is it that you intend, in this case is research, right? What's the intention? What are you doing this for? If it's present, the verb goes in present tense. Study, conduct, clone, show, communicate, right? Very important. Whether you go academia or industry, in this case, this is a research, again, a research-oriented vita, you want to be sure that you are also showing interpersonal skills. You just don't want to go as somebody who can do research. Yes, you can do research, but you could also communicate and meet, right, on a weekly basis with interdisciplinary team. What for? What's the outcome? What are you doing this for? To discuss project progress. I found out, and you can notice I have an accent, I was a linguistics major, I'm Peruvian, so I always pay attention to words. The prepositions to and for are your best friends to show outcomes. Did whatever, whatever, to, did whatever, whatever, for, or sometimes, or I should say, and sometimes a word that ends in ing is also very helpful. Like look at the third one, clone so-and-so, a mitochondrial heat shock protein, ing, using classical so-and-so technique, right? Show them that you know your research. Using, facilitating, resulting. I mean, again, those helps to write things out. Same here, design this, catalyze, constructed, express. Now, I wanted to show you this last one. Remember Ryan was talking about the transferable skill or soft skills or power skills? Okay, here's a good one, right? Did whatever, whatever in a timely manner from a teamwork approach, right? That shows them, oh, now you're a team player, right? Now you have time management skills. Okay, I can see a lot of questions here. Let me go ahead and address them. May we have PDF copies of the CV plus resumes for reference? What? PDF copies of the CV. Oh, I see. What I do actually is, I think this is what you are referring, Rachel. At the end of this resume, if you want them to know you have a vita, you could do this, if this is what you are referring. References and vita available upon request. You can do that. You can convert certainly your vita or your resume to a PDF. Your references will be a separate piece of paper. When you are sending a resume, your references are not a part of a resume. That's why you say references, right? Available upon request. That's a separate piece of paper. You will write references on top. Well, first of all, you will write your name, Brutus, Buckeye, right? And then references here, like you did research lab, and you will list your references in reverse chronological order. You will list your references in the order that you want them to be contacted. And you list them like in a business card, right? The name of the person, their degree, etc. Very, very important. Let me see. What else? Hopefully that answers your question. Yes, they will share the CV and resume. Okay, that's Jeremy. If you don't see the information tomorrow, okay. Oh, okay. Well, sorry, I think I misinterpreted there. Are the lines inserted to separate the sections ATS friendly? Yes, they are. Yes, they are. You have to be sure. What I usually suggest, and I'm going to show you this here. Let's see if we can do this. so that everything is friendly, the lines and everything. Space them as opposed to tap them. Like here, for example, you see there's some tabs. They convert in PDF, it's easier, and they go to any platform much easier if you just simply space them out. Okay. Now, guys, what I really want to do is, because of time, I wanted to show you. In this case, we call it research lab work experience. I'm a big proponent of clustering your experiences under different subheadings and even naming those subheadings, whatever the position you are applying for. So for example, Ryan was talking about consulting, right? Yeah, you are applying to a consulting experience. Then you could call this session consulting work experience. Interested enough, you could use your teaching experience for consulting. Okay, so you could say consult with, instead of students, you could say consult with clients. It's the art of reframing, okay? But call the experience what you want them to know about you immediately. So if you have consulting experience, then call it consulting experience. Most people, what they do on a resume, they write work experience and they go in reverse chronological order. And then somebody has to figure it out as they go through. Oh, this person has done consulting. Look, oh, this person has done research here. Why don't we cluster your experiences under two subheadings and call it consulting experience? And under that cluster, you go in reverse chronological order. And the other cluster could be called research lab experience. And then you just cluster all the research experience under that subheading. And then who knows, you could even move around, right? The clusters. If you're applying to research, then you put research first and the consulting second. In this case, this person does have industry experience, okay? And this is the same industry experience from the Vita. Technical skills, look at what we did here. We bolded, right? So that people can see it right away. I will even add here things like, right? Maybe proficient in, intermediate level, basic level, familiarity, knowledgeable of, right? It's up to you guys. I think I will add the proficient. This is the session where I want to really highlight you, after all the research piece, right? That comes first. Look, you have additional skills. Look at the teaching. If you look at the Vita, right? This person, after all the research, etc., look, research experience, technical skill. Look, we still have research grant, research award, all the publications, conferences, presentations. Here comes the teaching, right? Look at all the interest. This person taught biology, right, at Xavier University. Look at what we did in the resume. Additional skill, teaching, taught biology to 20 upper division bio major, Xavier University, and dates. That's it. In one line, we just include everything. So it's not that you're not telling them what you have done. But in this case, this person is applying just for a research position. So there's no need to expand on their teaching. There's no need unless they want a PhD and they ask for it, okay? If not, look, your publications, you can sell them as technical writing, write and publish various articles in peer scientific journals, and you can explain which journals are these ones and what you write about if you want to. But there is no need to list them because what you are doing here on the resume is highlighting that you have technical writing skills. All your conferences and presentations, we reframe them, right? We camouflage them if you want to until under public speaking, present at various health science conferences nationwide. Boom, that's it. There's no need to say all of them, right? Additional skills, foreign language, and computer. There you go. You see what we did there? We pretty much all the teaching and the publications and the conferences are now here under additional skills. Honors and awards, remember the grants. Let's go back to the research, to the data. Hopefully you can see it here, right? Hold on a second, I'll go higher. Okay, there was a grant, I remember, where is it here? There's a research grant, there's a research award there. Well, this person, you know, accomplished that, and that's their experience. So that's what we're gonna go ahead and include. Plus, there's also these honors and awards that this person have achieved. So what we did here is we just included all of them under one session called honors and awards. We don't have to highlight, you know, or break it down in research award, grants, etc. They're all here. And then comes professional affiliations, education. Now, remember I'm trying to see what we did with the, hold on a second. Here we go, honors, awards, professional affiliations, the references, additional skills. We included all of them in here. This university service, you know, this person have provided leadership, right? I thought it would be a good idea. This person didn't choose to do that, so I'm respecting what they did, okay? But here, in additional skills, I will add, and maybe it won't be the last one, right? It could be one of the first ones here. Leadership. See what I'm doing there? And then right here, let, Control B, right? Let co-chair or something, right? I cannot remember what it was. Serve as a co-chair at XXXXXXX. And what we're highlighting again is the leadership. Let me stop here. I wanted to show you, I mean, this was a real quick, but I wanted to show you how 8 pages, okay, with the same essence, because it's the same essence, is now a 2-page resume. Let me see if there's any questions in the chat. Where is the line between reframing and lying? The line is reframing, you don't lie, right? You own your experiences. You are just reframing them. If you present in a conference, that's called public speaking, unless you can come up with another way of selling that skill, please be my guest, you know, go for it. But you don't want to lie on a resume, no way. I mean, actually, to be honest, you could even be liable if you lie on a resume. So let's be very, very careful about that. Are industry folks offended by these kinds of reframing? No, they are not. We've done this with so many years with no. What you want to highlight is your skills. And actually now you're selling additional skills. For example, the teaching, if you want to, you can also call it communication skills, training skills, right? You could call it training as well. It's completely up to you. Now, I do have time. I wanted to show you. Let me show you now this one. This one is more a teaching emphasis data, okay? This is a PhD in Hispanic linguistics, MA, you know, in all these linguistics, BA in linguistics. Teaching experience comes first, okay? It's a TA, teaches at Ohio State, right? Was a guest lecturer. Was also an instructor in Lima, in Peru, right? Then comes her research, right? It's a vita, remember, teaching emphasis, so teaching goes first, then comes research, right? Research interest. This is all her research. She has traveled extensively to Latin America to do these things, okay? Then comes her additional research experience. Look at all her grants. Again, publications, conferences, service, all her awards. She has editing experience, community outreach. Look at all the additional skills. affiliations, and then her references, right? This is a 6-page vita. And again, I'm going to send all of these. Let me show you the vita here. Now look at this resume. Okay, one line again. Background summary. When you have a lot of years of experience, you could summarize who you are right away, especially if you have more than 5 years of experience. So look at this person, over 6+ years of experience in linguistics diversity and dialect and language awareness. Expertise includes sociolinguistics, anthropology, empowerment of excluded groups, so and so, etc., right? Now, this person, this is the research experience. And actually, she was applying to foundations. Okay, that was her job, and they asked for a resume. She decided to call, instead of research experience, again, reframe it, linguistics diversity experience. That's what she wanted to call it. I guess she could have called it also maybe global linguistics experience, etc., right? It's present, so verbs goes in present tense. I wanted you to see that this one is in the past because she did travel. You know, you don't travel constantly. So it was a one shot if you want to. So she's including her experiences the way they are in research, because this is what she did. She raised awareness about these things, empowered community members about the value of Quechua and Andean Spanish, etc. So this is all her research. And look at her teaching. She decided to reframe her teaching as cross-cultural training experience, because she's selling herself as somebody with expertise in diversity, okay, using her linguistics major. Relevant skills, again, public speaking, that's her conferences, language, Spanish, computer. Awards, professional affiliations, she decided to put both in there. She could have done her research, her publications. She could have sold them here as technical writing, and her education goes at the end, okay? Look at all her awards. She even mentions how much was this travel grant awards. But I wanted you to see primarily how in 2 pages she can condense what she have done. Now, does she have to put all her experiences in the resume? Not necessarily, okay? Like, for example, all her research interests, there's no need to highlight those in there. She didn't, for example, she has editing experience, remember? She didn't include them in her resume. Now, if we want to, this is what I'm showing it to you, right? In, oops, where's the, here? I cannot add it because this is a PDF, okay? But relevant skill, she could add here editing, right? And include her experiences there in that way. So it's possible, hopefully you can see this, right? It's possible to reframe and still tell them, show them what your skills are. Another thing, depending, again, remember, depending on the position, your clusters will move around. Let's say that Brutus Buckeye decided to apply for an editing experience. Okay, have nothing to do with linguistics or anything like that, but she has writing experience. All of you have, right? Writing experience, editing experience. She could have then the background summary will change, right? And we'll say, I don't remember how many years of experience she had in editing and writing. And then she will include the first cluster will be editing work experience. She will go with all her editing work experience there, right? Maybe another subheading could be technical writing. And instead of going with all the publications, we can highlight the projects, right? Which are the publications, highlight the projects, and then the writing skills. How does she write these Maybe she edits some things. I wanted also to show you real quick. There is a website that all of you definitely have to have. It's called ONET. I don't know if you guys have seen this one or not. Let me put it in the chat because it's really worth it. Control copy. And then I will answer more questions. I can see there's more questions there. So let's say that you want to learn more about editing. So you can write down here, you see editors. And you will be able to see all the tasks. See, there's 21. Of course, that's way too many, right? But don't copy paste it exactly neither. But this is a great resource, starting point, right? That can help you write your resume depending on what you want to highlight, right? Look at the verbs. I mean, read, for example, verify facts, days, statistics. Look, they even have the ing that I was talking, right? Use standard references, sources. I don't know, read, copy, or proof to detect and correct errors in spelling, punctuation, etc., etc. You can go ahead and, of course, adapt this to your own situation, right? To your own experience. It's a great resource. You can go ahead and read below. It has also, you can see the type of education, knowledge, skills needed. It talks also about salary, and you can look salary by state. And what I like a lot is you can also look at job openings on the web. Of course, also use us, right? Handshake, etc. But go to job fairs, all of these things. But I think it will be a good resource to show you this onetonline.org. It's really, really very, very helpful. Okay. Let me answer some questions that I am seeing in the chat, right? Okay, let me see. What if you have experience as both an academic and a nonprofit professional that is useful, yeah, for the job? How would you frame the summary? Well, actually, maybe the academic, was it training? Was it teaching? You could say research. That's okay. It's not a bad to say research, right? But usually in industry, instead of teaching, we say training, even consulting sometimes. So you could say it like that, X plus years of experience in training and nonprofit. That could be one way to say it. Are consulting and teaching really the same thing? That's the one that you have to be careful. You have to be careful because if you are, for example, if students come to your office hours, okay, that is consulting. You are consulting with them about something. Now, if you are teaching using a certain method, that's not consulting. But what you can do is this. You put first the things where you are consulting. What if, for example, you are somebody that is consulting with a PI, about the lesson plan and things like that? That is consulting. So the bullet points that relates to consulting goes first, and then the last bullet point could be taught X, Y, and Z using, I don't know, with groups and whatever methods, right, to raise awareness about X. Okay, but that will be your last bullet point because you don't want to highlight necessarily that you are teaching that biology 101, right? But yes, you want to highlight that you're consulting with your students during office hours, listening to their questions and problem solving their answers. That's totally appropriate. Okay, I think that's a good question. Okay, that's, am I answering all the questions? Yes, I think so, right? It's 11:54, so we have like some minutes there. If people have more questions or I don't know if it makes sense what I'm saying, okay? But there's ways, if you want to, I have time, let me go ahead and put them all of these in the chat. Let me see if they're all open. Oh yeah, they're all open. Let me close them so that I can. On purpose, I left some of those things so that you can see, right, how I can add leadership in there. Let me add the Vita here, and let me add this one. Okay, there they go, all the four examples so that you can see both Vita, teaching to resume. Are experiences belonging to undergrad education valuable? That's an excellent question. Excellent question. Let me go ahead and stop the share here and start answering. In resumes, we have something called, it's a rule of thumb, right? The rule of thumb is experiences that connect to the job that you are applying. They are relevant, okay? They are relevant. So if they are relevant to the position, yes, even if they were from some years ago, it is still okay to write them down on your resume and sell them right away. Yes. You don't have to put everything, you know, from your Vita or everything you've done in your resume. If there are experiences that are not connected to the job description, maybe you leave them out, or maybe you reframe them. I don't know, let's say that, just to say something, okay, that you work as a, I don't know, as a customer service in a bank, just to say something. And you want them to know that, but there's no need to expand on it because the job is not necessarily customer service related, but you want them to know that additional skills, customer service, you bolded, work as a so-and-so, you know, in bank, PNC Bank doing X, Y, and Z. So in one line, you say that. For example, let's say that you're applying for a job that is maybe training, okay? And you taught years ago in a high school during your undergrad, okay? Maybe you were a tutor, there you go, okay? Is that experience relevant if you're applying for a training position and you were a tutor? Yes, I think so. And maybe that's one of those that deserves, right, to be expanded and move into the cluster that maybe we call it training experience. Hopefully, does that make sense? All right, thank you very much. I think so, hopefully, yes. Anything else? Yes, Ryan,
all right.
please.
Yep, I always love that question because like sometimes people are like, you know, they take off everything from undergrad, but even, I mean, you could, it's possible you could even have something from like before undergrad, right? And so, but it really has to check off the box, right? I've had people who were like, you know, connected to education and they did some amazing things in high school that were connected to their future goals. And it's just, it shows a pattern of wanting to do that work that that extends even far back. So it wouldn't be the focus, but I, those rules of like, oh, you have to take it off because it's in blank, right? Like, I just don't, yeah, I would really think of what Anna said. Does it connect with what we want, what they're looking for, right? Does it help me sell my skills or my passion or my fit? So.
Absolutely. And please come and see us, you know, because of course this is very general. We need to see your experience. And my 2 cents, if you are going tomorrow to the job fair, you need to go with a resume, right? You can print it out both sides of the page. It's very important to know what to say when you talk to that employer, okay? So maybe I should do this real quick and also give you this handout. When you talk to a employer, it's very important that you tell them who you are. So my name is so-and-so. You could even say, I'm a grad student, right? Or I'm a PhD student, I'm a master's student, that's fine. And then tell them, as you, I'm very interested in, right? In whatever it is. And after that, shift. That's one of the best advice that I can give you. Switch and tell them, I'm going to give you exactly what it is here. Okay, there they go. I'm doing two things at the same time. There you go. I just sent you the handout. Okay, so my name is so-and-so. I'm a grad student at Ohio State, very interested in X, Y, and Z. Shift. What appeals to me about your company is, at the minimum, if you don't have a lot of time, check out their mission. These companies that are coming tomorrow, just in case, they already, you can Google, you can search them in the career internship fair, you know, at Ohio State. There's a list of all the employers that are coming. They're even giving you a blurb about them. So they're kind of saving you a little bit, you know, your homework. And paraphrase that, tell them that. It's very important. You know, what appeals to me about your company is whatever it really appeals to you. Maybe you are a social responsible company. It's your products, it's your service. What is it about them? And then that's when you take your resume, right? And you give it to them. And you tell them, as you can see on my resume, I can offer you my communication skills, right? Maybe when I taught here, and there. I can offer you my analytical skills, right? When I research here, and there. So try to highlight the skills that they are looking for when you research the company, right? And highlight maybe the clusters. Maybe that's another way of showing them. When you talk, highlight the clusters. I can offer you my industry experience and my research lab experience, right? In doing X, Y, and Z. And after that, they cannot ask you, tell me about yourself, because you already did. They cannot ask you, why ask, because you already did. They cannot even ask you, tell me about your skills, because you kind of summarize them. So you kind of push them a little bit, very professionally, of course, to talk about internships that maybe you, or even jobs that you may be interested in. Because maybe it occurred to me that maybe you want the resume to go tomorrow to the job fair. We're going to have from government, nonprofit, industry, everybody's going to be there. The good news is that government, Ryan, I'm assuming government is coming tomorrow, I think. Well, anyway, government will pay you according to your degree and level of education. So, you know, you don't have to hide your education at the end or anything like that. You can put it at the beginning. Yes, Ryan.
Nope, I was just going to agree and say that, yes, I believe government will be there tomorrow. I haven't looked at all the names, but I think there's a whole room for government.
Mm-hmm. Well, I know it's 12:02, so we wanted to be very mindful of our time. I send you all the resources, and I'm going to send it to Jeremy as well. Anything else before we wrap it up?
Thank you.
All right. Hopefully you find this helpful.
Yes, thank you all for having us present today. And again, if you have any questions or anything, please feel free to reach out. Something small, you know, feel free to send us an email. But if it's bigger, you know, make an appointment and we can look at your resume. And hopefully we'll see you tomorrow at the career fair.
See you tomorrow, Ryan and Anna.